Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into an absolutely fascinating biomechanical puzzle today, the science behind non-contact and defense-heavy combat. If you've ever found yourself wondering how certain fighters manage to completely dismantle opponents who are way bigger and stronger than them, well, you're in the right place. We're going to break down both the history and the physics of how this whole thing actually works.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, the ultimate fighting paradox.
So think about this impossible David versus Goliath scenario for a second. How on earth can an unarmed fighter completely neutralize a much stronger, heavily armored opponent without relying on direct brute force? I mean, it sounds like something straight out of an action movie, right? If you don't have weapons and you're outmatched in sheer physical strength, common sense literally screams that you should lose that fight every single time. It's a massive puzzle of biomechanics that demands we completely shift how we think about human conflict. And in this explainer, we're going to solve this exact paradox by looking at the core principles of physics alongside some incredible historical combat innovations. The master key to solving our paradox? Redirection. Simply put, it's managing and manipulating an attacker's momentum rather than confronting it head-on with direct force. This idea is the foundational anchor for everything we're exploring today. We basically have to stop viewing physical energy as something we absolutely must aggressively match. Instead, we have to start looking at it as something we can borrow, steer, and manipulate to neutralize a massive opponent. It's a total game changer.
Moving on to part 2, the physics of Aikido.
To really wrap our heads around how we can manipulate that energy, let's look at the actual science of momentum. And this brilliantly illustrates the two totally different approaches. The traditional mindset is all about direct force, confronting aggression with brute strength. It's exactly like running headfirst into a solid brick wall, just force meeting force. But then, on the flip side, we have redirection, which is essentially the science of Aikido in a nutshell. Instead of blocking a strike with an equal amount of counterforce, Aikido focuses entirely on redirecting the attacker's momentum. By letting that aggressive energy just flow right past you, and then applying highly specific joint locks, you can completely control an attacker without ever having to outmuscle them. It is literally pure applied physics, designed entirely to control rather than confront.
That brings us to part 3, Jiu-Jitsu and the Samurai.
Okay, so we've seen how this looks in the pristine, controlled laboratory of modern physics. But let's step back into the brutal historical reality that made this kind of biomechanical efficiency absolutely necessary in the first place. Picture this. You're standing on a feudal battlefield, facing down a fully armored samurai wearing traditional Oyoroi armor. We're talking thick, lacquered iron plates and heavy leather scales. Throwing a standard punch or a kick at that solid iron? Yeah, completely ineffective. You'd honestly just shatter your own hand and foot. Brute force is 100% off the table here. So, out of pure life-or-death necessity, jiu-jitsu was developed. These fighters had to rely on leverage, pins, and throws. They specifically targeted the joints because those are the biomechanical weak points that armor can never completely protect, using them to unbalance and ground the opponent. It was an ingenious innovation born out of the absolute impossibility of using direct force.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Part 4, the art of redirection. When we place these two martial arts side by side, a really clear structural pattern emerges. On one hand, we have modern Aikido, heavily focused on physics, momentum, and joint locks, primarily dealing with an unarmored modern-day aggressor. On the other hand, we have historical jiu-jitsu, relying heavily on leverage, pins, and throws, specifically designed to take down that heavily armored samurai. Now, the contexts are centuries apart, right? And the opponents look completely different. Yet the underlying structural solution to overwhelming force is exactly the same. In both of these cases, survival depends entirely on managing the attacker's energy rather than fighting it head-on. So the crucial point is this. Physical combat is reframed as energy redirection and biomechanical efficiency. This isn't just a cool physical tactic. It's a profound paradigm shift. It completely redefines what a fight actually is. It's no longer just a primitive contest of who can hit the hardest or who can lift the most weight. No, it becomes a high-stakes puzzle of geometry, angles, and physics. Which leads us to this incredible judo flip realization. Mass and kinetic energy actually equal vulnerability. I want you to really think about that for a second. In our normal, day-to-day thinking, if someone is massive and moving incredibly fast, we automatically view them as this unstoppable threat, right? But in the art of redirection, an opponent's massive size and their aggressive kinetic energy are not their greatest strengths. They're actually their primary vulnerabilities, just waiting to be exploded.
the harder they charge at you, the heavier their armor is, well, the easier it becomes to use that exact momentum to unbalance them and send them crashing into the ground. Their own aggression quite literally becomes the weapon that defeats them.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If an attacker's mass and kinetic energy are actually their biggest vulnerabilities, how does that fundamentally change the way we view physical power? I mean, it really flips everything we assume about strength entirely upside down, doesn't it? It proves that efficiency, structural intelligence, and a deep, intuitive understanding of physics can systematically dismantle pure brute force. I really hope this explainer has given you a brand new lens through which to view biomechanics, history, and the true nature of power. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and keep questioning the impossible.